Hello guys, today I'm gonna be making torch and fire comes out of it. So this is our end result. First, let's create the fire. And to do that, we're gonna be using an object which emits the fire. And not only on the surface, but we're also gonna make fire emit from inside of the object. And the object here we're gonna be using is a sphere. Now, to do that, to make this fire, we're first going to need smoke, and that smoke can be created by points, and that point can be emitted by the sphere. We're also going to add volume in between for points inside the sphere. So let's get started. First, let's save our file to torch. Now let's create a container in which we're gonna do our torch or make our torch. Let's name it torch, I guess. Now, first of all, I told the object we're gonna be using is a sphere. So let's create a sphere. Let's change the primitive type to polygon. And now, I've told in the other video, but a difference between a polygon and a polygon mesh is in a polygon mesh, you use rows and columns for the resolution, while for the polygon, it's just frequency. And a polygon is made up of primitives. Now, to create volume out of this, we're going to add a VDB from polygon. Change from a fog VDB instead of distance VDB, and the voxel size to 0.03. Now we got our volume. Next, what we need to do is create points. And why are we adding this VDB from polygons? Can't we just immediately add a scatter? Well, I've already told you this, but I want to create points inside the sphere instead of just the outside surface. And instead of using a scatter, we're going to use a Pyro source. The reason we're using a Pyro source here is because we can use a scatter, but then in a Pyro source, it's just a scatter, but you can add attributes. And for Pyro, for fire, we're gonna use two attributes, burn and density. Or you could just choose in the initialize source smoke. Source burn. Then you get your whatever you need. It will create the attributes. If you want, you can also add temperature. It's not needed, but okay. Then let's add a volume rasterize attribute. And what this is gonna do is it's going to convert the points into volume. Now, if you choose it, it should not work. 1 second. Yeah, it's not working because in the Pyro source, the mode is keep input. And in the input, there's only 1 point. So it's just going to have 1 point. Instead of that, we're going to choose surface scatter. Now, let's view the Pyro source. If you choose the surface scatter, it's not only gonna do it in the surface, but also inside, because we're adding a VDB from polygon, and it has volume inside the sphere. Now, let's add the volume rasterize attribute, choose the attributes, and now you got it. let's also change the voxel size. 0.03, I guess. Here also. And what the default value and scale is, for these attributes you can see in the geometry spreadsheet, burn, density, and temperature. Default value is the value, so burn 5.49. Scale is just a multiplier. So if you give 5 and give it 2, then it will be 10 here. 10. Let's just change it to the default value. Now we got our smoke. And now to make fire out of the smoke, we're going to be adding a Pyro solver. And a Pyro solver is just a solver. Like, it has a .NET inside. If you go inside it, you have to click on that. You can see there are so many nodes. But then the simulation does not happen in any of these. And it only happens in this dot node. This dot node has many things, like it can solve a collider, like static object, if you're colliding with something. Then for the Pyro, this is the sourcing place, so it's going to source everything. This is just advection. Advection means advecting something. Like now I'll be advecting this fire, which means I'm going to emit, and many other stuff. And if you're asking what are all of these, the other stuff, these are just the nodes for creating the parameters. So if you see in the Pyro solver, there are so many parameters, and to create that parameters, it's these nodes. There'll be a lot of code in here. And here, what I want to change is in the bounds, the resizing, I'm just going to change the box size, because if it's too high, your computer is gonna load a lot. So 0.1, that's good. And in the sourcing, you have everything you need. And that's it. If you want to change something in the fields or shape, if you want to change like now if you play the play the video, you can see you got your fire already. So it's task 1 is completed. But then if you want to add any wind or something, you can add it. Here I'm not gonna add it, like wind, disturbance, turbulence, whatever. Now since your fire is done, the only thing we need to do is add the stick for a torch, because a torch always has a stick. Now for adding the stick, we're gonna add a tube. Let's view it. Now a tube, it's just a cylinder basically. And let's change the height to 10. Radius 0.4, I guess. Yeah, 0.4. Let's also change the center to either you can move this simulation or you can move this down. And what I mean is, let's move the center to minus 1, okay. 5. Okay, now let's add a merge. And now either you can change the tube center position, the Y position, to down, or you can make the tube stay up like this and move that. So you can just add a transform here and change it, but I just like moving the tube. -5. Now you can see we already got our torch, but then usually a torch, the stick has a color. So we're gonna add some color to it. And instead of just adding a color node, we're gonna use material. So we're gonna go to the material place, and I just like going into the material, and if you ask the difference between a color and going into the material, a color just changes its actual color. Like now it's gray, now it will change. If you add a color node, it will change it to whatever color you give. But if you're using a material, if you're using the material palette or material node, that is going to add a texture. So it's like going to add a layer on top of the object you're giving it to. Now let's go into the material. Now let's add a principal shader. And what a principal shader is it's just a shader and you can give a color to it. Now there's already a layer here. This is like a layer. Now if you want to use this somewhere, first let's give the color. You can give any color you like. I'm gonna give it like a brown woody kind of color. Yeah, that's good. These are the values. Now we have our layer. But if you go into the object layer, you can see it's not in here because you have not applied it to this tube. And let's just call this stick. Yeah, now to apply that layer in the stick, we're going to add something called a material node. And also, if you don't like going into like that, you can also add a material network in the object level. Material network. You can go inside that. But I prefer using that. And now in the material node, in the material, we're going to choose the principal shader, which is there. And now you're going to get the brown. Okay. 1 second. You have to add the end caps. And now if you play it, it's going to work. And now it works. And also, 1 second. It's loading. Let's change this to white. I don't like the color. And yeah, that's it. That's all. Now you have your torch. Thank you for watching.